Hi, everybody. Let's give it up for Matthew Shear. Matt, thank you so much for being here with your movie. I've seen it before, obviously, but seeing it again on the big screen is just a whole other experience, and it's really, really remarkable. So, this being your directorial debut, I'm wondering what kind of sparked your interest in telling this particular story.
Well, I'm an actor, beyond this, sort of. I've been in the acting game for, over a decade, and it's had its ups and downs, and I was in a down period, and I really, needed to kind of throw my energy into something, so I started writing this and kvetching about acting, being an actor, through a woman in her 50s. But no, really, I sort of delved into, a world that is really personal, and that was kind of the driving thing. I just wanted to tell a story that felt, real to me, and not everything is real in it, but the sort of, the baseline story is has a kernel of truth.
I think that really shines through throughout the film. Even though it is a comedy on paper, there's so much tenderness and empathy that you imbue with all the characters. I'm just wondering, creating all the characters, from the daughters to your character, Sam, everything rings true in one way or another. So what was that process like? Just creating the characters as we see them and how they evolved over the process.
Well, thanks for saying that. I guess part of my writing process was sort of letting, my imagination go and find people in my life who, kind of resembled these characters. And so that was, and sometimes an amalgamation of people, and that really helped me kind of zero in on feeling for them in some capacity. And that was really fun to kind of just find lots of characters to care about.
I think in addition to your great screenplay, I think the cast is just so impeccably casted, yourself included. But
it was actually hard to cast myself.
What's it actually?
Yeah, I lost a part at one point. That's not a joke.
Oh, really? So wait, go off.
Should I tell this story?
if you feel comfortable telling
Well, basically, we had this amazing, we had sort of a fraction of this amazing cast. We had Amanda Peet, and I think she really, signed on. She signed on first and was, the person who gave this legitimacy. And we had Amanda, and we had, I think, Bob Balaban and Bob, yes, who was a friend of Amanda's. And we were kind of hunting around for more actors, and it was kind of getting closer to our window to actually do this within a calendar year, and it was just making offers. The husband character of Amanda's husband, that was a hard role to cast. A lot of dudes did not want to play that guy. Or that's what I told myself, that they had, sort of machismo issue with it. And Alessandro came along, and I think he really nailed it. But anyway, so we couldn't, imagine getting money to make the film with me. and Amanda and Bob Balaban. So we started thinking about other people, and kind of in the middle of that process, all these other actors came on, and I kind of like just took it back.
As you should, you know, it's your baby, so.
Thanks.
But yeah, what was the process like with all the other pieces falling into place? Like the actresses, you know, play the daughters, Jessica Harper, as a Suspiria fan, is interested to see her kind of pop up, and
she's
Judd Hirsch,
wonderful.
who I feel like he's been in the most recent, he's been in a recent Kelly Reichardt film, he's in Fablemans, like there's been seeing Judd Hirsch kind of pop up more and more, so
it came out of, you know, like 3 people, Phil, me, and another producer, Charlie Alderman. We just started, I wrote a draft of a letter to these great actors, and then they would edit it, and we would like go back and forth. We just wrote the most endearing, you know, like praising, ego massaging letters, humanly possible, and we got responses. That's really, it was like letter writing.
Yeah, there's a lesson in there.
Yeah.
You know? Just do that.
Write a good letter.
Yeah. Where was it? Oh yeah. So, as an actor, writing and directing your first feature, were there influences that you found or that you kind of went into your film kind of going with, like, knowingly, and things that you kind of discovered as you were writing the film that you're like, oh wow, I didn't even realize that was something that I retained from working with a previous director?
Well, I've worked with Noah Baumbach a number of times. You know, once in a kind of co-starring role in Mistress America, and then I've had a bunch of little parts in his movies, and that was a real education for me to kind of be on set with him. Even if I had like just one line in the movie, I was able to kind of absorb the, you know, the way that he sort of navigated a set, and so that was a big impact. And you know, like I don't know if this is a common director name these days, but Paul Mazursky, who I just kind of discovered and found a real kindred spirit with somehow. And his movie, An Unmarried Woman, was a big influence for me, especially for Amanda's character.
Great. I'm putting that on my watch list. Great. So we're going to open it up to you all. Raise your hands and project. I'm happy to repeat questions. I saw a hand go up first in the balcony.
Thank you for the film. I was wondering if you could talk about the narrative and the plot. It seems like it doesn't fall into kind of certain traditional plot lines with resolution, but has a kind of a different structure that I know there's a lot of artistry in it, but felt more like everyday life in a way. And you could talk about your development of the story and how you think about the plot structure.
So the question was just to go into how the structure of the narrative was developed. And, you know, there are those interesting gaps between the seasons and all that. So yeah.
The structure was mostly in the screenplay. There were a bunch of things that in the editing process I moved around and kind of found new, you know, interesting ways to sort of find that tone, which I was kind of going for, like something that felt close to real life, but was, you know, keeping you interested by withholding certain information and then having reveals in an unexpected way. That was, you know, what I was trying to go for. And yeah, I guess my process writing the screenplay was pretty like unstructured, and I kind of just found the story as I wrote it, and then kind of, you know, did a lot of editing and structured it from there.
Any other Hands. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
What makes this particularly a Jewish film?
The question was, what makes this particularly a Jewish film?
I think that's a question for you, Joey.
Yeah, I mean, I programmed the film. I mean, I mean, there are very obvious cultural mentions. There are Shabbat dinners. There are kind of cultural phrases, and there's kind of a Jewish sense kind of throughout the entire film. I would say of how characters interact with each other, how they see themselves. Yeah.
I would say the most Jewish aspect of it is its sense of humor, you know, which kind of came from my childhood and living in New York, and so there's definitely a Jewish character to, or at least to me, to the humor.
Well, just to add one point, to me, what made it a particularly a Jewish film was that in every scene, when you looked at the walls, what was on the wall?
We had a good production designer.
Books. How many films have you seen wherein books are on the walls? This immediately takes me out of me because I didn't have books on the wall. I think this is a particular example of Judaism.
Yeah, this audience member was making note that there are books on the walls in each scene, and that is an aspect of Jewish living.
Yeah, I think it kind of depicts like my parents' generation, I guess their parents' generation, that like had a kind of a sort of like an intellectual texture to the way that they furnish their homes. Sure. The question was how long did the... Oh, okay. How long did it take for the film to get made? Well, it took me about 5 years to finish the screenplay. Like fully complete it as it appears. And then from there, it wasn't... I think it took us about a year to get it like off the ground. Is that 2 years? 2 years? Who knows? So I guess 7 years. Thank you so much.
I think the follow-up was, where does the film go from here?
Yeah, the movie has a distributor, Granddaughters Entertainment, and it's going to open on March 27th in New York and then across the country.
And we'll make sure to share that out with folks. I just do a little plug for Boston J Film. On bostonjfilm.org, we have a newsletter that you can sign up for. You can also follow us on social media. We post about whenever BJFF alums come back to Boston theatrically. So stay tuned for that. Yeah, up there.
I'm always interested when the director directs themselves, like they act and they direct. And then, so I'd be interested just to hear how that works. And then also the process of directing these very established stars, just how you kind of prepared yourself to impart directions to them.
So the question was, what was it like directing yourself as and directing such established great actors as well?
They both involve nervous breakdowns. Directing myself had like a learning curve. I started, since my background is in acting, I really kind of only focused on acting. I mean, I had a great cinematographer who was really holding my hand through, the whole process. So we were like safe, but I wanted to go really quickly and keep it very spontaneous and fresh and not do a lot of takes initially. And then, I just quickly realized that I was rushing and that I had a lot of people on set who could help me with my own performance. And you know, my cinematographer, Connor Murphy, like actually, if you ever want to make your own movie, he gives great acting notes. And my producers and my script supervisor, and then it just became this sort of like community of people who, you know, I could draw on to kind of learn how to do it. And then in terms of the, you know, these amazing kind of legendary actors, I was terrified, and you know, like I just was so scared. And then all of them were so nice and so easygoing and gave such natural, generous performances that it just became pleasurable.
Yeah.
You had mentioned that the screenplay evolved over the course of 5 years. Did it take any particular twists over those 5 years or changes in terms of the actual storyline?
The question was, in the course of the 5 years of you developing the screenplay, were there any twists or big changes that happened along the way?
I would say, yeah, the first person I showed the script to was my wife, Sarah. And, you know, she liked it, but she had thoughts. You know, she kind of pointed me in the direction of, like, making the Dianne and Sam story more, you know, more visible. And that really was helpful. And then, yeah, I mean, there were kind of a few sort of plateaus where I got some really good insight that changed things.
Yeah.
First of all, the movie was wonderful.
Thank you.
I felt sorry for you. You were struggling with the whole thing and the character. Very well played. But have you any ideas of doing another film? And also, would you consider having a part 2 to this film? Because I didn't want it to end. And it's kind of left up in the air.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're thinking where they're going to be going from here, but I want more.
The question was, do you have another film in the books or in the works,
Yeah.
on the docket? And do you think there would be a part 2 to this one?
I haven't thought of a part 2 yet, but I like the enthusiasm. And I would love to direct another movie. Like, you know, I definitely described my anxiety going into it, but it was just a really, I mean, it had a lot of challenges, but it was a really rewarding experience. Yeah.
Yeah, all the way in the back.
Yeah, I'm curious as to why Sam's parents don't appear in the film.
Because I didn't want to offend my own parents.
Was that ever like a thought?
No, that's a great question.
The question was, why don't Sam's parents ever show up in the film?
And I say, because I don't want to offend them. You can't play a joke twice. Okay, I guess just to give you a more solid answer, I would say I was really interested in Sam, like the fantasy life aspect of him joining this family and being a part of another, you know, a kind of another world, and almost sort of finding himself, you know, filling in for her husband. That was really interesting to me, and I didn't really think about, you know, bringing his parents in. I felt like there were a lot of old Jews, you know, to go around.
So there was the thread of uncomfortableness that sort of ran through things, particularly with your character. And did you think about how to balance that so it could be comic without being too depressing?
Yeah, I'm always thinking about that.
The question was balancing that sense of uncomfortability throughout the film.
Yeah. It's funny, like, I didn't perceive how awkward, some people find certain scenes when I encountered them editing. Maybe just because Sam is kind of a part of me, I am somewhat comfortable with my own, awkward sensibility. It is a part of me. And yeah, but I do know that is how people experience it sometimes, and I do think it helps with the comedy. Yeah.
I think it's just such a real film. I think there's a lot that maybe, whether people want to admit or not, there's a lot that is very relatable in every scene. I think, to your credit.
So the characters were so relatable and accessible, and that last scene really wanted, at least for me, wanted to see what the conversation would be the next day, right? So here we are talking about this film. I'm putting you on the spot. What would the next day and the next month and the next year look like between Sam and Dianne?
The question was, what does the next day in the future look like for Sam and Dianne?
Part two. Yeah, I shouldn't give it away. I guess what I'll say is that.
Add another hour to the movie. It doesn't have to be more.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know how you guys would like that.
Would have loved it.
What was I going to say? Wait.
The question was, what does the future look like for
right,
Sam
for
and
those
Dianne?
characters. What I'll say is that one thing that occurred to me as I was writing that scene was that this might be the last time they ever see each other, and that's kind of probably what would happen.
But if not,
I don't want closure. Which I get, because the characters are so well realized.
I don't know. I haven't thought about it.
can we talk tomorrow?
Yes. Yeah. Give me an all-nighter.
These are my numbers.
Okay. In the back.
You picked beautiful locations. When you were writing this, did you always envision the summer being on the Vineyard? Or did you just kind of do it and you got gorgeous shots of beaches and it was beautiful? Is that how you envisioned it originally?
So the question was Martha's Vineyard always part of the summer part of the film? And yeah.
And is that a veiled question for did I shoot in Martha's Vineyard? One scene was shot in Martha's Vineyard, the ferry. The rest of it was shot on Long Island. I'm sorry. When we played the Martha's Vineyard Film Festival, and it really that was they had a lot of fun with that, and I figured that might happen here. But yes, Martha's Vineyard, my friend Peter, let me stay with him one summer in Martha's Vineyard, and we worked at the Chilmark Community Center day camp, and I was in a Midsummer Night's Dream at the Tisbury Amphitheater, filling in for Theseus, who dropped out at the last minute. I just had the best summer there. This was, maybe, I don't know, 20 years ago. And it just stuck with me. Peter Stanley lives in Chilmark, and I just absorbed that culture, and I recognized the sort of Jewish, environment there, and it just was where I wanted to set it.
Great. I think we have time for a couple more questions. I see them.
Yeah, when you do a movie in New York about Jewish people and therapy, you always think about Woody Allen. And I wonder for you, in terms of, I'm not saying, I mean, I think this is I loved it, and I think it's your own unique movie. But I wonder whether, in making this kind of movie, whether that, I mean, you know, Woody is such a sort of overwhelming figure for doing, for these subjects.
Yeah.
The question was, you know, the idea of New York Jews and therapy is very emblematic of Woody Allen cinema, and even though this is your own unique voice and your own unique film, is that something that's in the back of your head?
I've been dreading this question. I will say, you know, I love a lot of Woody Allen's films, and you know, definitely grew up with them, and they were in our VHS collection, and I've seen, you know, Annie Hall and Take the Money and Run somehow the most amount of times, just because they were what we had, and so I definitely absorbed that sensibility and that kind of story. You know, like many people, I've turned on him, and more initially, really just the movies just were not good anymore to me, and so I kind of like had, at least when I was writing the movie, I did not think about him at all, and you know, there's clearly a kind of resonance there that is, at least for me, kind of unconscious.
I think the thing that's interesting too is like there's always going to be that association, whether people want it there to be or not, just in terms of Jewish comedy. He's just kind of looming, but it is interesting to see over the last decade or so how things just evolve and people kind of move past him, I think in constructive and good ways, so that he's not the focal point for everything, like that people are allowed to have their own unique voices. So, yeah.
Yeah, but certainly, you know, I don't think I would have come up with this construction of, you know, the neurotic Jewish guy navigating New York City if it wasn't for Woody Allen.
Yeah, let's do these. Oh, you over there.
I thought the last scene actually was a perfect capture of their relationship and did bring it to a close. It did seem to me that it would be the last scene in their relationship. And the fact that they shared the rice pudding at the end was perfect. I think she had to bring her husband to meet her. And that, I thought, was what she was about, so that she could take care of him, like she was taking care of you in the movie. And it seemed like that was in place, he was in place, his relationship, and they were bringing him to a close, financially and personally, because she had really mixed feelings. She both wanted to hide from him, because before an ultimate scene, and then she took it and bit in her mouth, and she reached out to him. And I thought that covered their in and out back relationship. I'm not looking for a sequel.
No part two. No part two.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, so we got two more. We got you.
Yeah, I guess it was like a nice kind of like sweetness and tenderness to all of the characters and sort of way that they express verbally really wonderful. I was curious about, you know, as kind of a writer and director of movies, that's something that you kind of intentionally trying to create, or did the actors actually bring that into the movie? I'm just curious how
it's going back to kind of what we were talking about, how the film is so tender and you really connect with all these characters, and how much was, initially on the page, and how much did the actors help bring to life, and maybe some things that weren't initially on the page.
Yeah, I mean, I thanks for saying that. I would say that the actors that I managed to get into the film all happen to be lovely, warm, and masterful actors. So they would, be able to just sort of be in a scene and find those moments, like the moment with Judd and Alessandro Nivola, the husband David, on the couch in the Upper West Side apartment at the end when they're holding hands and he's all messed up. That was like just that. Like, I didn't tell them to do that. They just started holding hands, and I mean, it was just very touching.
That's one of my favorite scenes, so I'm glad you popped that up. Our last question is going to be in the back.
First of all, thank you, I loved it. And what is it like watching your film with an audience? When you watching us, watching your film?
Yeah, last question is, what is it like watching your film with an audience? And yeah.
I'm really happy when you laugh at stuff and then really angry when you don't. Unfortunately, that's about as
Straight to the point. I appreciate it. Matt, thank you so much for the film. Thank you so much for being here.
It was a pleasure. Thank you, everyone.
All right.